Hello and welcome to today's video. It is that time of the year again where I get to talk about my inks and pens of the year, and we are starting today with my ink of the year for 2023. Now, my quick criteria for this are: it doesn't have to be an ink made in 2023 or released in 2023. It has to be an ink I reviewed in 2023. This year, the ink is Sailor Cult Pens Iris. So this is an ink made by the Japanese ink brand Sailor, obviously, made exclusively for Cult Pens, the UK-based retailer. So in a minute, I'm going to talk a little bit about this ink, but first thing I want to do is talk about a couple of the other inks that were real contenders this year. I reviewed a lot of inks in 2023. I reviewed a lot of inks full stop. And two other inks this year that really got me were Robert Oster Romeo and Juliet, which is a super complex multi-chroming ink. Now, I will link to the reviews of each of these down below. But this is a really interesting multi-dimensional ink. Here it is on a coloring card, and you can see, those hints of purples and greys and greens and blues, and it's just such a beautiful, unique, beautifully colored ink. And it performed really, really nicely as well. I always love looking at Robert's inks. Being an Australian ink maker and me being an Australian reviewer, I always appreciate that. So yeah, Robert Oster Romeo and Juliet was a huge contender. And of course, as you can see there, Octopus Fluids Aubergine, which is another super beautiful ink. I'm a big fan of purple inks, and this is a very nice one. It's on the violet end of purple, but lovely performance, beautifully smooth and wet, and really nice on the page. And look at that sheen, doesn't it just look absolutely stunning? So yes, these two inks, big contenders, big favorites of mine, inks I'm going to enjoy using and continue to use for many years to come. But let's have a look at Iris. So this is a beautiful blue that has like a purpley kind of undertone. All this is written with it in my Pelikan M805 with a medium nib, big, lovely, rich, wet, broad medium, just a stunning pen to write with. And of course, this is a swatch. It's here on Tolma River paper. As I said, you can watch the review where I go into a little bit more detail about the ink and show it on some other paper and stuff like that, linked down below. But this short video today, just showing this ink, 5 reasons why I love this. Firstly, it's an interesting color. So it's not just a straight up plain blue. I'll show it in a bit of a color comparison with another blue in just a second. But it's got a lovely sort of almost purpley kind of undertone, beautiful red sheen, all of that kind of thing. It's just a beautiful color ink. So I've said it's got super performance. Sailor inks are super high quality. They're made to have excellent performance on all kinds of paper, and this is no exception. It is a wet ink, it's a strong ink, so not necessarily best for some of that low-end like student notepad paper, but for general use and general paper, absolutely beautiful. Third point is it's exclusive, and I am actually someone who enjoys exclusive inks, and I don't enjoy them because they're necessarily more expensive or anything like that. I enjoy them because I know that a lot of these companies and a lot of the ink makers collaborate and talk about the colors and have colors that are exclusive to them for particular reasons. And I really enjoy the Sailor inks that they made for Cult pens. I also looked at Papaya, which is a beautiful light pastel orange colored ink. And so they're able to do interesting things with these ink companies that, because they're exclusive, they're not available anywhere else. I like that. I've got its nice sheen and shade. As I mentioned that sheen before, beautiful red copper sheen. If you look at this nice and close, you see some lovely shading. It shades, but it still is legible, which is also a point that I like. I call it page contrast, and this is a really great example of that. And the fifth point I put here is that it's professional with personality. So you could use this ink in a professional setting. It's still a good rich blue at its base, but it's got some personality. It's not just a standard royal blue or a standard, like I'm going to show it alongside Waterman Serenity blue, and you'll see the kind of difference in the color. I'm going to do a quick writing sample with the ink. I've got, as I said, I've got here my Pelikan M805. So we'll just do a little sample here. It's a lovely wet ink. It's smooth. It's got lovely flow. Sailor inks, as I said, are super, super high quality inks. They're made really well. They're made to exacting details and with a long history of ink manufacturing at a really high level. And so you know when you buy a Sailor ink, be it an exclusive here to something like Colt pens or just in general, you're going to get a really high quality ink that stands up. So here's the colouring card again, and I put it alongside Waterman Serenity Blue here, which is kind of like my stock standard go-to review blue. You can see it's got a slight sort of more earthy, purpley kind of undertone. It's not that straight blue that like they're definitely, I think they're kind of related in terms of the underlying blue, but there's a little bit more purple here in Iris, but it is definitely a blue ink. I'm looking at it alongside, you know, the purple of Aubergine here. You definitely see it is a blue, not a purple, but it does have a slightly purple undertone there that Waterman Serenity Blue doesn't quite have. I'm not sure if the camera's exactly picking that up. So that is my ink of the year for 2023. We have Sailor and Colt Pens exclusive ink, Iris. It's an ink I've really enjoyed. A lot of this is very personal. It's not just like the ink that performs the best or the ink that sold the best or anything like that. This is my personal favorite ink that I looked at for the first time in 2023. I've used it a lot. I've had it in my Pilot Custom 823 for multiple fills. It's an ink I just really enjoy, and that's why this has got the award this year. So I hope you found this video interesting and useful. Please like and subscribe, hit the notifications button. A big thank you to Colt Pens for sending this out a few months ago for me to look at. Obviously, I've really enjoyed it, and I've looked at a lot of inks this year, and this one just speaks to me. I really enjoyed it, so a big thank you to them. If you would like to support my channel, I would love to hear from you. Please get in touch if you'd like to provide a product, or if there's a way you would like to sponsor a video or my podcast or something like that. I should say also, check out my podcast. It's on Spotify, Apple, Castbox, all that kind of stuff. It's the Offstage Me podcast. I'm really enjoying making it. I've done some really interesting interviews, and I've got some interesting stuff coming up and some stuff that I think is going to be quite interesting, particularly heading into the second season in a few months' time. But thank you for watching, and in the meantime, enjoy your inks, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.